So we are live now, sir.
Okay. Very good morning for all the students who have joined online. My name is Balaji, and we have our faculty, Mr. Nagraj, who's also online, and he'll be taking over the session from now onwards after I hand it over to him in the next few minutes. Good morning, Nagraj.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, everyone.
So just a very quick introduction about Mr. Nagraj. I think this must be his, I don't know, 19th or 20th session that he's taking online for both ICMA, ICI, and various other institutions. He was also recently in Bhubaneswar, Odisha, or across the state of Odisha, conducting similar training programs. Okay, so a very good morning and a warm welcome to this SAP Fi program for ICMA that we are conducting. You will be getting the content, the audiovisual content, which includes simulations and other sessions through SAP Enable now. You would have already received the access to SAP Enable now. Hope some of you would have already logged in and seen it. So that is the same content that Mr. Nagraj will be using to deliver the training sessions from now on. As you would have seen the schedule, it is 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours in the afternoon. And I understand from the institute that the attendance is mandatory. At the end of the session, there will also be an assessment. That's an MCQ assessment that would be held. Okay. An MCQ assessment would follow the standard passing policy of ICMAI. In between, I also would like to add here that this particular content that you're going to see is a very unique and customized content. Earlier, we were giving generic content, but this is a customized content for ICMAI, which has all the relevant portions that a person would need to understand and how to use SAP. So this is the SAP Power User course. And after the completion of this course, you will be able to use SAP and also teach others how to use SAP. So that's the uniqueness of this program. Just to introduce myself, my name is Balaji. As I said, 35 years of corporate experience. I am in the SAP ecosystem for the last 25 years. I started off as a sales and distribution consultant. Then I also learned materials management, production planning, IS, and had a brief stint in IS utilities and IS oil. Most of my time has been as a project manager, program director, head of SAP practice, and head of Center of Excellence. I worked with L&T Infotech. Now it has become LTI Mindtree, then Wipro, then SAP. That was my last SAP career that I had was with SAP, wherein I was leading the team which delivered the Geo billing solution. If anybody has a Geo mobile connection, the recharges and the billing system runs on SAP HANA, BRIM solution. Those days we are calling it as BRIM. That was delivered or implemented under my leadership in Reliance. That was in the year 2014, 15, 16, those years. Okay. So before I hand over to Nagraj, I would also like to add a couple of things here. Please attend the session very carefully. Listen to Nagraj. One is he is a SAP finance consultant himself and is also a veteran in teaching. So he's the right combination of practical knowledge and a person who can teach. As I said, we are lost count 21, 22. I don't know how many similar sessions he has conducted online. Okay. And of course, he also does lots of physical offline training sessions also for SAP Fi. And the customized content is already available with you. Please do spend time. Do not hesitate to ask questions, but don't ask questions in between. So what you can do is you can ask questions maybe when there is a time given for you to ask those questions, maybe at the end or whatever. Okay, as it goes, Janvi and Nagraj will be taking over these sessions and they will be guiding you how to go ahead. And last but not the least, I will be interjecting or stealing or requesting Nagraj to give me a 2 hour slot, so that I also bring in the flavor of project management into the whole training session. This is absolutely out of syllabus, I can say, and there'll be no questions in MCQ that you will get, but it is more of giving you a practical view about how SAP gets implemented in the real world, and what happens and why SAP HANA, what is S4 HANA. Of course, he will be touching upon all that, but I'll be giving the other side of the information about all these, plus how exactly is SAP implemented, how exactly production support happens in SAP. So these are more from the project management aspects at a senior level that I'll be just be touching upon for you people in a 1.5 hours or 2 hour slot. So Nagraj, you and me need to touch base so that you can give me one slot for this particular session.
Sure.
Okay. And maybe once we decide on that session, a couple of sessions before that, you please announce in the class that on a particular day you will not be taking and I'll be taking that session.
Sure, sir.
Okay. So with these few words, a very, very warm welcome and happy learning for each one of you. All the very best. Do not hesitate to ask questions. Plus, I'm sure you're also aware that you can send in your questions or doubts that you have over email at support@skilltraining.in. Please do not hesitate to ask all your questions, and happy learning to each one of you. Do spend time in the system. That will give you a good view about SAP. Okay, so I leave with this. Happy learning, all the very best, and over to you, Nagraj.
Thank
So
you, sir.
Janvi, I
Thank you so much.
just click on end and hand it over to Nagraj. Is that correct?
No, sir. You have to click on leave, sir. Or if
Leave.
you're leaving, yeah.
Okay.
If you because end the session will end, sir.
Oh, sorry. Lucky I don't
Yeah.
send the. I didn't click a wrong button now.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes.
over to you, Nagraj.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. So a very warm welcome to each one of the attendees. So today,
So,
yes,
Nagraj,
madam.
sorry,
Yes, madam.
sorry to interrupt you. You have to share the screen, sir.
Oh, okay. Fine.
Yes.
Achha, before that, there is one more statement, small question. Somebody has asked for meeting ID and meeting password in the chat. So is there any such thing?
No, sir. Meeting ID. There is a link for this.
Huh. So Sampath
They
Kumar,
have
you
to
need to
copy
click on
and
the link.
paste.
Yeah, you need to click on the link and you can join the session. Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Nagraj.
Thank you, sir. So for the time being, or maybe say for today, at least the first session between 11 to 1, we will just have a general discussion as to what, even before we get into the heart of SAP, which we'll be talking about probably say from Monday onwards. Today, let's try to understand why, what of SAP, where is it being used, why is it being used, what it does to the business. And the most important thing what we need to understand from SAP is our focus should always be on the business. See now, just I have just a blank Excel sheet has been flashed to you. Okay, I'll be sharing my personal or maybe say your course content also down the line. Okay, so what we need to understand to have a grip on the SAP subject is you should understand, you should start mapping or you should start thinking what exactly or how exactly the business functions. It could be whatever business. I think Mr. Balaji used some, he was into oil and another thing, which he specifically used a term called specific, industry specific. Now, why was this term used? as I said, SAP now, especially currently, is being used across various businesses. No matter what the business is all about, SAP can still be used based on the requirements of that specific business. That's one. Now, so you have a wide business things. What can happen? You could be in the automobile industry, you could be in the service industry, you could be in the real estate industry, you could be in the food industry, you could be in the pharmaceutical industry, whatever is the business. Now, when I'm going to show you certain slides which I myself have prepared just for the understanding of the topics, right? This content you will definitely see, or maybe something very similar you will also see in your course content which has been shared with you. Okay. Now, how does your course content look like? That also we are going to look at it right now. And as it was pointed out, we will pause. We'll definitely take a pause for your questions, right? And let's try to answer all of them. And at the end of the session, you'll be having an assessment, which you will be taken through in detail. Let's not worry about it. Now, as I said, if at all you want to understand the subject of SAP, it should always be first and the foremost, you should know how exactly the business works, whatever may be the business, how it works, what are the operations, what does it do? See, normally you will see a lot of functions, right? Whenever you take an organization, whatever organization it could be, big, small, medium, whatever, and whatever could be the industry. You have people working, they have to be managed, they have to be paid salaries, they'll have to get their promotions. So how was this handled in the SAP environment? All the business operations. See, why are we in fact talking about SAP? Now we are looking at a product where it combines the functionalities of all the departments of your organizations. Suppose if you're in a manufacturing industry, you purchase goods, you purchase raw materials. So where does it go? It goes to the warehouse or it goes to the stores. So from there, it gets issued to the goods, the raw materials will be getting issued to the production department. Right? So you have people working on the production department and you have other functions also in the production department. You need to maintain the equipments, the machinery, what you use. You should also pay wages. You should pay salaries to the concerned people. Correct? So all these activities. So how long is the production activity going to take place? How can I make the system more and more productive? So these are all the areas which we are going to look at as far as any business is concerned, and how SAP binds all these functions in an organization. So if you had noted, Mr. Balaji also used a term called as sales and distribution. He was from the sales and distribution side of SAP. Okay, so the sales and distribution. So ultimately, whenever any organization produces an item, produces a product, what does it do? It has to sell. Correct? So you have a sales department with or without SAP. I'm necessarily not saying a sales department exists only with SAP. Right? Sales department was there before SAP or even after SAP also. So the sales department, the sales people, they have to do their job. the marketing, and the sales. Correct? So how does SAP bind all these functions into this particular functionality of the business? Right? So this is in fact the most powerful thing in SAP, which is making it survive in the market, and moreover as a even as a market leader. If you take the ERP space, now I'm slowly going to start introducing you to some specific terms. Okay, I have still not spoken about SAP. I just gave you a small introduction as to. So now with our discussion, whatever we had in the past couple of minutes, SAP can be used for various businesses. The first thing. So what is the advantage of using SAP? It automates the functions of any organizations. As I said, any businesses. It depends on how the SAP system is constructed or configured. So if you do not understand specific terms, please put them up in your Q&A session or Q&A section of your the screen, whatever you are seeing. Okay, and we will take it up one by one. So why I'm introducing you to these terms is once you get into the SAP environment, once you become qualified CMAs, you obviously are going to get into the SAP environment. Okay, may not be today, may not be tomorrow, but at least down the line, down your career, you will definitely face SAP. So in that scenario, you need to understand the typical terms the SAP professionals they use, or the people knowing SAP. I would not necessarily call them. They could be professionals or they may not be necessarily professionals. But even when a person works on the SAP system, he is bound to use certain terms which is typical to SAP. All right. So this is the reason as to why I'll be introducing you to various terms as and when the situation arises. So let's keep things simple. Let's try to keep things understandable. Okay. So the aim of this session is to make you feel comfortable working on the SAP system. All right. You don't have to be thorough professionals in the talks, because this subject SAP is very huge, and as far as my experience goes, a person can never say that he knows SAP or he's an expert in SAP. Maybe even after so many years of service, or maybe so many years of exposure to the SAP environment, there is always something new to learn or something new which arises in every business. All right. So today I may be working for, say, some business X. Tomorrow I may start working on business Y. So the challenges, the requirements would be very different. And so also I, as an SAP professional, need to understand the requirement of that particular business and accordingly try to design the SAP system based on those specific needs. So every business will not have a standardized solution. So if you have applied for, let us say, the real estate business, same cannot be applied to the food business. The same solutions cannot be applied to the say some cement industry or whatever it is. Correct? Logical, right? So this is exactly how we need to understand a SAP system and design the product. Okay, so this is the challenge of. So what is the challenge? You need to constantly keep updating yourself or upgrading yourself with the latest happenings in the SAP field. See, now you people would be interested to know more and more about SAP HANA. What is SAP HANA? There are so many things to be discussed as far as the HANA is concerned. So what did SAP take birth as HANA itself? Absolutely no. So when SAP was founded, SAP as a company was founded way back in 1972, April, right? This was not, see, it has constantly tried to do the R&D and meet up with the requirements of the current business. So that is why it has improvised, or rather it has upgraded the working of the product, working of the SAP product based on the requirements of the current requirements. Say for example, we moved from the VAT system of taxation to the GST, correct? So how did SAP take care of this transformation? So, or if SAP said, just imagine a scenario where SAP just said, no, we cannot change from VAT system to the GST system. Would people still use the SAP system in India? No. And just imagine, you have taken the example, I just took an example of one business scenario in India happening in our country. So is the SAP product designed only for the Indian businesses? Not at all. SAP is a global product used by the whole world. Right? Now, if SAP has to meet the requirements, or the product should be globally acceptable, what should it do? It should take care of all the business changes, the way the business is happening across the globe, and satisfy or design the product in such a way that it can be designed to meet any of the businesses in any kind of a situation. Now suppose, let us say I am at the end of, maybe say, okay, let me not say anything. My business, I have a business, I'm generating a report, some report, which I need to submit it to my governmental agency. Let us say it could be a sales, commercial department or whatever. So till now, I was submitting the reports based on the requirements. Now, tomorrow, the requirement may change. So shouldn't the SAP product allow me or give me the freedom to change my report based on the requirement? You agree with my point? This exactly is what SAP is doing on a day-to-day basis. Every day, each and every moment, R&D is happening to understand the wide business requirements required by each and every industry. So can you see the length and the breadth of the product what it should actually cater to? Now, what used to happen in the earlier things were, now each and every day, each and every moment for any kind of a business, it's a big challenge. Correct? It could be in whatever may be the challenge. Now, to constantly keep up your business, to keep your business up and running, you need to also change your thinking, how you can actually go about meeting the requirements of the business. So you can now imagine the how, see what was the idea, what was the intent, what is the intent of SAP. Correct? Now, if you're looking at a product like SAP, it is because of the constant upgradations, like we moved from an earlier system to HANA system now. So what was the earlier SAP system called? I will introduce you that term a little later. Now let us talk about only from the HANA perspective. So how did SAP evolve from SAP XYZ to SAP HANA? So it is almost so many decades, 1972, we are in 2025. So look at the survival of the SAP product. It has survived for so many years. Right? So it shouldn't have been an easy thing for SAP to always match up to the requirements of the business and try to be the leader in its own space. Now, weren't businesses existing before SAP? Obviously, yes. Obviously, yes. Now, what SAP is trying to do is automate, that is, with the least intervention of the human activities. SAP should be designed in such a way that it is taking care of the whole of the running of the business on its own. That is the intent. Okay, now coming back to, I think we have spoken quite a few things about SAP, and probably now you are aware as to what we are going to look at and what could be the expectations. Okay, the expectation is at the end of the sessions, you should be comfortable enough to understand and basic work on SAP should be done by you people without much difficulty. That is the intention. I think the bottom line was very clear. Okay, and believe me, if at all you want to have a total mastery of this subject, you need to go way beyond this particular course. You need to have a solid hands-on on the live systems. Okay, and whenever, and basically if you want to carve a career in the SAP field, okay, that is a different approach. With your CMA expertise, you can also map your SAP skills. Clear? So that we will take it up in our discussion. We still have a lot of time to go. Okay, so we will not exhaust all the things as of today. Okay, this is what we are going to look at now. I'll just try to focus on the. Madam, you're able to see the PPT. Can somebody please confirm?
Yes, sir. Visible, sir.
Okay, ma'am. Yeah. So even before we start talking about SAP, what is SAP? It belongs to the ERP. Okay. Well, now what is ERP? Enterprise Resource Planning. Now, what is the ultimate reason, or what is the reason, or what is the purpose of using any of the ERP products? Earlier to SAP also, there were many ERP products. When I focus on the Excel sheet, I will make a note of all that. Earlier ERP packages are ERP products which existed much before SAP even did. SAP even took birth. Now, the third line, you can see what are the major business processes. One of the typical terms which is used by SAP, processes. Now, when we spoke about the business, so we took about when we discussed, I don't know how many of you really understood the practical side of whatever I said. Now, let me assume I'm into a manufacturing industry. So what do? I am manufacturing a particular product. What do I do to manufacture this product? I need to have the raw materials, correct? So who procures the raw materials for my company? I may be the owner of the business. Perfect. But I cannot be involving myself in each and every activity, right? So I will be having certain departments in my organization. Now, the process. I am procuring the raw materials. It is coming to my store and getting stored in my store. The various kinds of raw materials, they are stored in a specific fashion in my stores, in my warehouse. Now, after this, what happens? Who's procuring this raw materials on my company's behalf? There is a department called as a purchase department. Yeah. So the purchase department will be responsible for the procurement of the raw materials or the procurement of the materials necessary for the production department. Just give me a minute. Just give me a minute. Sorry. So now, so the purchase department is responsible for procuring the raw materials. Now, after the procurement of the raw materials, we need to, for our purchases, we need to pay to the vendor from whomever we have purchased the materials. We need to make a payment to him. Who's doing the payment? It is the finance department. So now a small example of this process. How is the finance department knowing that it has to release the payment to a specific vendor? So there has to be an information to the finance department. How was it flowing? How was it flowing from the SAP? How was it flowing to the, how was the information flowing to the finance department? So the initial activity is from the purchase department. All right. So finally, the information has to flow to the finance department to release the payment. So there is a process. So how is the material ordered? How is the payment going to be released? So there is a specific steps which are involved to carry out or to finish this activity. This is called as the business process in SAP. I will continue with this example. Now you have produced a product. What should your organization do? Now the next thing will be to sell this item, sell this product. Who's involved now? The sales department. Correct? The sales department, the information as to the availability of the product goes to the sales department. Now the sales department sells the product to the customer. The customer then makes a payment. How does the finance department know that the particular customer has to make a payment? Now you saw the connection. It all started from the purchase department trying to procure the raw materials, passing it on to the production department. The production department carrying out various activities and creating the final product. The information of the final product goes to the sales department, and the sales department, it identifies the potential customer who wants this product and sells the product to the customer, and the customer makes a payment to the company, to the organization. So you saw the various functions. This is called as the business process in SAP. So now, if you saw the whole explanation into what is a business process, I just gave you a very small example. We are going to look at this in detail only after we understand the basics of SAP, not until then. Because to understand this, you must be very, very clear in understanding what SAP is all about. Now, can you see the last line? What are the major connections between the processes? Now, what is a business process? It is essentially one department of your organization talking to another department. Your purchase department talking to the finance department. Your sales department talking to the finance department. And even the human resources department talks to the finance department. How? In terms of paying out the salaries to the employees. Clear? So all these things, they are an integration of the various functions in the organizations. All right. And how SAP closely sets the bond between these operations. Yeah, this is about your business process. Any questions on this, please put it up in your Q&A section. So we will take it up at the appropriate moment. OK. So a detailed explanation as to what is an ERP. So I also told you that I'm going to tell you about the ERP products which existed before SAP also. So you should also know that SAP is also falls under the ERP sector. Okay. So as you can see, the first line, ERP stands for Enterprise Resource Planning. So by the abbreviation of this ERP, what did we understand? So you are necessarily planning the resources, how productively and how effectively it can be used. So as you would have studied in your BCom or maybe even in your inter CMAs, you know what are the resources of an organization: man, money, material. Clear? So without these three critical resources, no organization can function. How do you manage this resources? Okay, the more effectively, the more productively you start using this resources, the more profitable your business is going to be. So how does the top management of any organization know how it is effectively using this resource? There has to be a benchmark as to how I'm using my resources. Where am I spending money? Where am I saving money? How profitable I am? How much more profitable I can be? How can I effectively save these resources? Clear? So all these things must be known to the management so that it can appropriately take decisions at the required time. So basically, it is helping the top level management to plan and utilize in the most productive manner. As you can see, the third line, planning leads to the best and effective and productive utilization of the resources. And how does the management come to know as to how it is functioning, how it is using the resources? There has to be a information which has to be timely and which has also to be accurate. You agree with me? So the reports or maybe the information, whatever I'm drawing from the various operations, as a top level management person, I need to know, I need to get the correct information and at the required time. The timeliness and the accuracy of the reports is very, very critical. So does ERP qualify to do this? Absolutely. That is how any ERP product is designed. Okay, the reporting and the accuracy, timely reporting and the accurate information. End-to-end integration. What is the integration? It is the talking of the two departments. More than two departments is also possible. Now we saw how the production sales departments, they are related to the finance department. So from the purchase side, the finance department has to make the payment to the vendor, and from the sales side, the finance department is responsible for receipt of the money from the customers. Right? Did you understand? So this is the integration. This is how each department talks to the other department. So this typical talking of the departments between themselves is called as integration in SAP. And this concept in SAP is the most robust thing, which is actually the survival secret of SAP. Yeah, it is because of how beautifully the integration between the departments happen in SAP. That is why it is used widely and across the globe. Okay. Robust software package to assimilate the information. Assimilation is storage. How do I get the timely information? The data has to get stored somewhere. Okay. It has to get stored somewhere in the ERP product. So SAP is also storing the data within itself. SAP provides all the above. What does it provide? Planning of the resources. Clear? Accurate information, timeliness of the information, integration, and also the storage of the data. So all these points are excellently considered when you are talking about SAP as an ERP product. Okay. So this is just a basic, a pictorial representation of whatever I said. The departments of an organization are connected to each other. Now we saw a small example. Okay, and we saw the connecting points also between the purchase and finance and the sales and finance. That is a connection. That is how each department gets connected. See? Sales, production, purchase, HR, finance. So based on whatever business you are carrying out, it depends, the number of departments also varies. Clear? So if at all I'm in the service business, I would not be having the production department at all. Makes sense, right? If I'm in the service industry, what do I do with the production planning department? So I will obviously not have the production planning department at all. Clear? Coming back to, okay, even before I come to SAP. So what are the earlier, I'm going to size this, change the size, not to worry. Okay. The first and the foremost ERP product was something called as a PeopleSoft. Now we are talking about SAP also. Now there are so many other ERP products. You have Tally, you have so many other things coming up. Now, why SAP is being spoken about as the most robust or the most commonly used ERP software, right? PeopleSoft. Till date, even now, these two products are still being used in some parts of Europe and also in some parts of the US. JD Edwards is still being used, but maybe the usage has become it's become very small as far as both BAN and also JDE is concerned, right? But some businesses are still using. Okay. Now, why people are preferring SAP now? There has to be a reason, right? Now, you remember we discussed something called as integration. This is the heart and soul of SAP. It is this integration points which is making the other products not being so very widely used. So PeopleSoft, it catered to more of the HR side of the business. BAN, JD Edwards, so they had their own. I'm not sure if I am using the right word called as limitations, but for now, SAP, since I have worked on SAP, this integration, what is integration? Talking between the different departments in a business organization is your integration. Business processes. How SAP connects the business flow between the departments is the strength of SAP. Correct? So this is where SAP has won over on the ERP side of the business. This is your SAP, systems, applications, products, or procedures in data processing. Yeah. Now, this as a company took birth in a place called a small place in Germany called Waldorf. Let us read this. See, even today, after so many years, it is still headquartered in Germany, Waldorf. And in Bangalore, we have, since I am a resident of Bangalore, we have a couple of offices of SAP in Bangalore also. Please do not go by the numbers, the third largest. Now it could be the first largest software vendor in the world also. Can you see the numbers of the businesses using SAP? Of course, this data has not been updated for quite some time. Okay, now almost I would feel this is a very small number as far as the current scenario is concerned. Lots of businesses, they are getting into SAP. And you can see how SAP is spreading across to the various countries also. Why? As I said, it's a global product. It is not fixed to any specific country. It is not specific to any of the businesses happening in a specific country. No, not at all. This SAP product can be used worldwide. Okay, worldwide presence in over 50 countries. Just don't bother about the numbers. Just take some time to read this slide. Now, the basic thing what I want you to understand is look at the various businesses which are using SAP. Petroleum, semiconductors, pharmaceutical, food industry, chemical, your computers, your real estate, your media. You must be really surprised, right? The media industry. Yes, I have worked on the media projects. I have worked on the real estate project. I have worked on the telecom project. Okay, so you can see the widespread of the product. How SAP has spread across the various businesses. So even the food industry, insurance. Yes, I had an experience even in the insurance business where SAP was widely being used in insurance. Yeah, in fact, I would say that that was the first trigger point which actually interested me in taking up SAP as a career. Okay. So this is how SAP has made its presence felt. And now can you see whenever you're talking about the various businesses, right? Aren't you talking about the various way the businesses are they are conducted? Can you say that the petroleum business can be the same as the pharmaceutical business, or the pharmaceutical business is same as a food business? Absolutely not at all. These businesses they are different in many ways. Okay, now we can see how SAP is so very flexible so that any of the businesses can make use of the product. Now, when we started our careers, I started my SAP career in early 2000, right? So then probably SAP was working on a different version. Now we are talking about the HANA version of SAP. Yeah. So when we actually started the career in SAP, things were so very different, and there were not as many challenges to the business entities as they are facing now. For example, VAT to GST. When you're talking about our own country, we are talking about VAT, system of taxation, to GST. So you can really imagine the effort. You can really imagine how the system has to be tweaked, or how the system needs to be changed or revised so that it meets the current scenario, business scenario. Yeah. So this is the flexibility of the product, right? You can see how big the businesses are when I'm giving you an example of where SAP is being used. You can see, you can just spend 2 minutes to read this slide. You can see the Tatas using, Reliance using SAP. You have giants in public sector, Bell, BHEL. I was also incidentally in one of the business, into the implementation in the sense of what should I say? Bringing in SAP to that particular organization. Clear? making the product work in that particular organization. Can you see how these businesses are different? Indian Oil Corporation, correct? So you can see how in the petroleum business is different from your public sector business, how public sector business is different from the hospitality business, right? So SAP can very well be used, and they are being actually used in these particular industries, in these businesses. Okay, even before we get into the architecture, Janvi madam, do we have any questions?
Yes, sir.
Okay, do you want me to go through that Q&A section?
Sir, I'll repeat the question, sir. Not an issue.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Is one student has said, can you repeat again about integration?
Okay, fine. Okay, integration. So what is integration? The way each department in any of the organization talk to themselves. For example, I gave you the example of a purchasing activity and a sales activity, and the finance and the payment and the receiving of the money activities, right? So when you're buying raw materials, the purchase department is responsible, but the finance department pays the money to the vendor. When you're talking about the sales function of your organization, the sales department sells the product, but the finance department has to retrieve the money or receive the money. They are responsible for receiving the money from your customer. This is your integration. A typical SAP term, integration. It is nothing but how the various departments in the organization, they are communicating between themselves. And these are all automatic. And see, there is the least human interference as far as the processes are concerned. Clear? Okay, probably I'll go a little deeper into the processes once when I feel that you are comfortable with the concepts. But I hope I was clear in telling you what the integration was.
Yes, sir.
Yes, yeah.
Now, only one more question. Sir, it means that SAP is basically highly dynamic.
One second, madam.
Sir, it means that SAP is basically highly dynamic.
Absolutely. Absolutely. In whatever form you take, you can use the word dynamic in whatever form, in terms of the reports, in terms of the workability or how the business is functioning, day-to-day changes. And you can see the dynamic feature of SAP, especially when you're talking about the changes in the reporting. We see a lot of changes happening, especially when you're reporting your business to the government bodies. It's so very challenging. Yes, and you're absolutely right in saying that it's a very dynamic product. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Next question is, what do we mean by HANA version of SAP?
Can we take up this question maybe a little later? I will anyway mark this question. Can you repeat the question, madam?
So HANA, what do you mean by HANA version of SAP?
I will take up this question a little later, but anyway, I have made a note of this. I will definitely answer this question once when we deep dive into the topics. Okay. Yes.
The next question is, please summarize ERP again.
Okay. If this slide answers the question, I'm more than happy. But if at all it needs the summarization, I would definitely would summarize. So what is ERP? Enterprise Resource Planning. Why is it being used? Basically to plan for your resources. Why do you plan for your resources? Because they are the heart of the business. Okay, and they have to be used judiciously. You cannot waste the critical resources of any organization, be it your materials, be it your manpower, be it your money. Okay, the way these uh, resources are being used by the organization definitely reflects on the profitability of the business. Clear? And the resources and the ERP product. I'm not talking about SAP. I'm talking about any ERP product. Okay, must and should deliver the standard reports. Okay, it should be capable of delivering the timely reports or the timely information to the top level management so that immediate decisions can be taken to see the business is functioning perfectly well. This is about your ERP summarization. I hope I was clear.
Yes,
And
sir.
SAP also falls under the ERP sector. Okay, SAP is also one of the ERPs. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Next question is, does government organization also use SAP?
Obviously, you saw the examples of the public sectors using. See, can you see the public sectors? BL, BHEL, right? All these are definitely using the SAP product. All right.
Sir,
Yes, ma'am.
next question is, why is there no bank sector in list of companies using SAP?
Absolutely. There is a thing called as banking in SAP, which I will show it. Okay, I'll make a note of it. Yes, we are definitely going to see this in our sessions. There is definitely, so I'll tell you a small example. Now, I said when we were talking about the business process, vendors have to be paid, right? How are they going to get paid? Through the banks? How does SAP know that this is your bank? Suppose I'm conducting business from, say, ICICI. My business, I have an organization which operates from the ICICI Bank. So shouldn't I necessarily build the bank in the SAP system? So this is how I would be giving each and every information in the SAP system so that the functions are happening automatically and smoothly. I hope I just gave you a brief insight into what is banking. So you need to construct a bank in SAP, right? So these are all, yes, but for the current moment is concerned, there is definitely banking in SAP. Because hundreds of, suppose Tatas, if they have to pay their vendors, you think they'll be having only one vendor or two vendors or maybe say 100 vendors? They'll be having thousands and thousands of vendors, which needs to be kept track by the system. That is why SAP is there. If at all it is humanly possible to remember all the vendors and keep issuing checks, why would you need an SAP system? These jobs have to be basically done by the system. That is why you're talking about SAP. Now I hope you would have got a clear picture about the length and breadth of SAP. These are all the things which is going to be handled in the finance side of SAP. May not be in core details, but definitely there is banking in SAP. I hope I have answered that question satisfactorily, madam.
Yes, sir. So
Yes, madam.
next question is SSP is used for HR role also or for finance only?
Absolutely. You take whatever department in your organization, your purchase, production, human resources, finance, planning, maintenance, all these are handled in SAP, not only one or two. Every department functions in your organizations are being taken care of in SAP. Your recruitment of people, your retirement of people, your salaries, everything is managed in SAP. Okay, this is what your process is. See, I also said whenever employees have to be paid their salaries, they are paid once in every month, on the last day or maybe on the first day of every month, right? So how is the salary payment being managed? It has to go through a integration or there has to be a process being set where the finance and the HR modules they talk. Why should they talk between themselves? Because the system needs to know that it has to pay X amount to the manager, it has to pay Y amount to the senior manager, it has to pay some other amount to the clerk, to the first division officer. So all this information has to get into the SAP system. Correct? So this is how the SAP basically it takes care of every department. All the functions of the department are being taken care of in SAP. It's the how effectively it is being done. It depends on how you actually construct the product. Okay. For one business, it could be a different kind of a construction. How you build the product, how you design the product. So basically, I would go about giving you another example. SAP is just like a cloth. So what can you do with a cloth? You can stitch a shirt, you can stitch a trouser, you can stitch a kurta. So what do you want? What does the business want? That needs to be understood by the SAP professionals and accordingly deliver whatever the customer wants. I hope I made things clear.
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
So one question is product billing also by SAP? Like is product billing also by SAP like BATA, manufacturing plus trading?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Yes, it has to happen on SAP. Once you see what needs to be understood here is, see, bringing in SAP into a company involves a lot of money. So it is how effectively you're going to use the product. So obviously, when the example of BATA is concerned, it should actually cater to each and every requirement of BATA. Starting from billing, starting from the stock, everything has to be taken care of by SAP. So it depends how the product is developed or how the product is constructed product here is SAP. Bata is your consumer or Bata is your customer. How very well you take care of the requirements of Bata and accordingly deliver all this or talk to SAP what Bata wants and implement the SAP as far as the typical Bata business is concerned. All the activities happening in Bata must and should be taken care of in SAP. That is the ultimate. Not only Bata, whenever any business wants to get into SAP, it would definitely want to have all its activities being done on SAP only. Because it is involving money, it is involving time. So it is not only billing, it is not only a specific activity. It doesn't happen like that. You are trying to automate the whole of your business in the product, in the SAP product. This is how your thinking should work. All right. So whenever you're talking about SAP, this is the way your thought process should happen. Okay. I hope I have answered that question, madam.
Yes. The next question is in SAP, can we check pending payments also?
Absolutely. Yes, you can. You can check for the pending payments. You can. Now I will stop at this. I will not tell you how it is being done. I will be telling it when we talk about. Madam, can you please repeat that question?
Yes, sir. Just a moment.
Yeah. Pending payments, right? Okay.
Yeah. Can we check pending payments in SAP?
Okay, ma'am. Yeah. This is the basic activity of SAP, which will be done, which obviously will be done in SAP. But now I will stop answering your questions at this moment, especially for this question, by just telling you an answer. Yes, it is possible. How it is possible, maybe we look at it in the further sessions. Okay, when we get into the accounts payable side of SAP, we will check how the pending payments are taken care of, how it is being reflected in SAP, and how this will be taken care of. All right. But for now, the answer is yes. Will the SAP system check for the pending payments? Yes. Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Yes. Just a moment. Is budgeting, forecasting, variance analysis done in SAP?
Perfectly done. Yes, it is done. This also will be shown to you. Okay. This also will be handled. Yes, this question has also been noted. But now my answers will be very brief by just an yes or no. How we will take it up in the due course of time. Okay. Very interesting. This topic is actually very interesting. Budgeting and plan. And this will be handled in the management accounting side of SAP. All right. Which is your area.
So.
Yes, madam. Yeah.
The next question is SAP module is segregated on the basis of activities like HR, finance, marketing, etc., or on any other basis?
Actually, I'm not very sure if the word segregation is the right word. But yes, SAP does cater to all the activities, whatever you said, whatever examples you have given. But the various departments or the various functions of the organization what you said, HR, purchase, finance, sales, planning, whatever you said, they are called as modules in SAP. Let me make a note, modules. The various departments, what you said, they are called as modules in SAP. Finance module, management accounting module, sales module, production planning module. Instead of the word departments, this module is a typical SAP term. That's it. I hope I have answered this question.
Yes, sir. Just a moment, sir. I'm checking.
Sure, ma'am. Sure. Madam, can we take a break for 5-10 minutes?
Yes.
You think
Yes, sir.
okay?
Yes, sir. Not an issue. Sir, you can keep the screen sharing like this only.
Sure, ma'am. Yeah.
Yeah. So students will be taking a break of around 10 minutes. Now it's 12:21. You have to be here only, and we'll be back by 12:30.
Sure, ma'am. Yeah, we'll do.
12:30 or 12:30. Yes.
12:30.
Just take a short break and come back. Keep yourself logged in only. Hello.
Yes, ma'am. I'm ready.
So, yes, sir. We can resume, sir.
Sure. So we just stopped at what we were trying to understand is something called as the different departments. So somebody asked me a question, if only a couple of departments were talking between themselves. Actually, no. All the departments, based on their work and how they are talking, how they are integrating with the other modules, talking to the other modules, depends upon their roles in the organization. For example, let me come back to the purchase and the finance. Now we are already aware that the purchase department procures the products. Who's making the payments? The finance department. Right now, the pending payments, we'll discuss it later. And the sales. The sales department sells the products, and the finance department is responsible for receiving the money from the customers. Very small example. This has to go in detail, and this we will talk about when we talk about a topic called as business processes. Okay, so this necessarily need not be only with one or two departments. Your business process. What is a process? It is a methodology of how the things should carry on. For example, you're talking about the purchasing activity. How else will the finance department involve? If you're looking at very big organizations, big in terms of the business, in terms of the business volume, in terms of the finance, and especially when you're talking about the public sectors, where I had an opportunity to implement SAP or work in a public sector. I had an experience like whenever you want to see how are these items procured. Suppose the the production department wants a particular product, raw materials. It wants to have 100 kgs, 100 kgs of a raw material. Now, how will the function take place? How will this happen? You go to a shop and buy it immediately? No. You identify the vendors in the market, right? Who can supply quality raw materials at a competitive price. Right? So the vendor should supply quality items, quality raw materials at a competitive price and at the right time. Suppose I want the material tomorrow. My vendor cannot supply the items on Monday or maybe next week because my whole production is planned for tomorrow, right? And the production has to take place because so many resources will be idle if the raw materials they don't come into my organization at the right time. My machinery, my human resources, they are all lying idle. I don't want those resources to be wasted. So this is why the raw materials should be supplied at the right time. Now, suppose I was trying to explain this term integration in a much better way, or maybe say a little deeper. Now, if at all, so you're recognizing the vendors available in the market who can do these things. What things? Supply the items on time, quality, and the price, right? So when you identify that vendor, how do you enter into a contract with him? I'll explain all this theoretically for now, and later when the topic of business processes comes in, I'll be making a list of all the points. This is just to drive home the concept of integration in a deeper way. Now, we are trying to identify the vendor. I am buying raw materials, and how do you enter into a legal agreement with the vendor? You have to have some understanding. So how do you have an understanding with your vendor? You have a document called as a purchase order. Okay. So through the purchase order, you are telling the vendor what items to be supplied, what time it should be supplied, what is the price. Don't worry, I'm going to make a note of all these points when the relevant topic comes. Okay, you don't have to worry. So the purchase order is the legal document which binds my organization with my vendor. Okay. Now, raw materials are definitely costlier than any other items. Like say, you may be buying some spares also from another vendor. Or any other item, may not be necessarily the raw materials. Some other materials you may be purchasing from another vendor. But logically, your raw materials, they are eating away your money much more than any other items. You agree with me? Now, can it be carelessly bought? Can you carelessly enter into a purchase order and start buying things? Shouldn't the finance department also grant that particular fund for that purchase? So typically in one of my organizations, what happened was, suppose the purchase order value was greater than a specific value, the finance head would sign the purchase order. So it used to have the involvement of the finance department also from the purchase order phase itself, though there is no money involved for now. Are you getting my point? This is where your integration comes into picture. So the chief manager signs the purchase order so that he is actually keeping track of the funds, how it is going out. Okay. So if the purchase order falls below that particular value, maybe the senior manager will sign the purchase order in the absence of the chief manager, or maybe say a general manager finance, or maybe say the vice president finance, or maybe say the chief finance officer, whatever. So the lower level officer can sign the purchase order based on the value. So can you see that the purchase department and the finance department, they are sitting together at the purchase order level itself? At the very initial stage, both the departments are aware of what is happening. So this is how your initial integration takes place. Later, when you purchase and make the payment, obviously the finance department is involved. That is a different story. Okay? Did you understand? So how the integration, how the different departments in the organization, they talk to each other. This is one of the excellent examples. So why I am exemplifying only with the purchase department and the sales department is probably, I'm assuming that the understanding will be clear. Okay, so somebody took the examples of an HR department. Perfect. There is also an integration with the finance department. So basically, if you want me to conclude, each and every function on an organization obviously involves the finance department. You agree with me on this? So there is always an involvement of the finance department. Clear? So that is why we say the finance side of SAP or the finance module, which is nothing but the finance department, is one of the most critical and a very, very basic module in SAP. Because all other departments, all other functions of the organization, they revolve around the finance department. So basically, let me come down to the definition of a business. What is business? Money coming in, money going out. So who's in control of the money inflow and outflow? It is a finance person. So basically, your basic definition comes to that. So similarly, in SAP also, your finance module plays a very, very critical role in the implementation of SAP in any of the organizations. Clear? What is implementation? Bringing in SAP, configuring SAP in the SAP system or in the organization. Tata's, Reliance, Bell, BHEL, right? So I hope the concept of your modules and your concept of integration was a little clearer. Okay, now coming back to just see the slide for 2 minutes. I will explain this. So now we know what is integration. What is integration? What is flexibility? Designed for all types of businesses, worldwide usage. Now this is an alien term, real-time processing. What is this? Just go through this slide and we will spend maybe till the lunchtime on this particular slide. What you are seeing here on this line, the green line, is the MM, PP, QM, RM, HR. They are all the various modules in SAP. Sales and distribution is the material management, MM, production planning, PP, quality management, human resources, project systems, asset management, controlling, which is your management accounting, FI, finance. Like this, your whole SAP comprises of different modules. Also, please make a note mentally. All the businesses may not have all the modules. Why? I think I gave you an example. If I'm not into the manufacturing business, do I have anything to do with the PP module or the PP function, production planning? I'm not producing anything. I do not have to plan for my production activities at all because I'm not into that business. Right? Understood? So it all depends on for which business I am actually want to change the SAP. I'm actually building up SAP for what kind of a business. Okay. Now, I'll start with what is R3, SAP R3. So any SAP, what should I, literature, any SAP document you take, it will definitely have this R3. What is R3? R stands for your real-time processing. Real-time processing of the data. See, when we spoke about the ERP products, the requirement of an ERP product, I'm not talking about SAP. I'm talking about any ERP product. So what was a basic necessity? It has to provide timely information, timeliness of the information, and the accuracy. Yeah. So it all depends on how SAP is processing the data. It is processing the data on the real-time basis, in the sense, once you input the data and save the data in the SAP platform, the data is immediately reflected. For us, in the financial terms, it automatically updates the financial results. Let us say I'm receiving money from a customer. So if I'm entering the transaction, I have received the money from the customer and I save it in the SAP platform, my bank balance or my cash balance will immediately shoot up. And that is reflected very well in the SAP system. That is exactly what I want, right? So if I'm taking a report at 1 p.m. today, so I have received 10 lakh rupees. If I want to have a clear picture about what is happening at 2 p.m. So if I draw the report, it could be 12 lakhs or even 15 lakhs. So that is how I want the data, because I want to take decisions based on the timeliness of the data. And this happens only with this kind of a processing, real-time processing. So once you input the data, save the data, the output is reflected. You can get the latest output. There is no waiting time. This is your real-time process. And what is this 3? 3 stands for your three layers in SAP or 3 tiers in SAP. What are they? The 3 layers are your presentation layer, your application layer, and your database layer. What happens in each of the layers? Why is SAP designed like this? The presentation layer. What is a presentation layer? See, I am showing you all these screens or all this information on my laptop. Correct? So the laptop screen on where I'm entering the data is my presentation layer. I have to enter some data within the SAP system. So it could be a desktop, it could be a mobile, it could be a, I said mobile. Interesting, right? I'll come to that because somebody asked me what is HANA. I'll come down to that. So now data can also be entered in mobile, your SAP data, right? So it could happen on a laptop, it could happen on a desktop, it could happen on a laptop, it could happen on a mobile. So wherever you are entering the data, it becomes the presentation layer. Okay. Now what is this application layer? Now this application layer is the layer or is the place or is the space where the data, whatever you enter, is getting processed. In the sense, I gave you an example of the raw material purchase. So 100 kgs of raw materials are being purchased at 1022 rupees per kg from the vendor XYZ Limited. So how is SAP consolidating all this data? So XYZ Limited is my vendor. 100 kgs is the quantity. 1022 rupees or 25 rupees. 1025 rupees is the price per kg. So 100 into 1025 for XYZ Limited has to be paid. So how is this information gathered? How is this processing happening? It is happening in the application layer. And whenever anybody wants to retrieve this data, from where is the data getting retrieved? It is getting retrieved from the database layer. So SAP necessarily stores the data and retrieves the data from the database. So these are the 3 tiers or 3 layers in the SAP system. This is your SAP architecture. Clear? Let's go back to the PPT. So you can see the person entering the data in the presentation layer. The data processing happens in the application layer. And finally, the data, whenever you want to retrieve, is getting retrieved from the database layer. This is your 3-tier architecture, 3-tier architecture. This is what your 3 stands for. Your R stands for your real-time processing of the data, and 3 stands for your 3 layers of the SAP system. Okay. Now we'll go back to the story. So whenever I talk about SAP, I keep going back and forth. Now the question, was SAP born with this architecture? Was it SAP R3 when SAP took birth? Or when SAP was founded? Absolutely no. It evolved or it graduated from R1 system, where there was no distinction between these 3 layers. Everything was happening in one box or in one place. All the 3 operations were taking place. Okay. So this was happening, maybe say till the till close to 1990s, maybe say till 87, 88, 1988 or something. This architecture was there, or maybe say even before that. Now it graduated slowly from R1 to R2 architecture, where the database became a different layer, and these 2 layers, the presentation and the application layer, they were one. The presentation and application were one layer and the database was another layer. Why did this happen? This happened because this architectural change probably led to the faster data retrieval. So whenever somebody wanted to look for the data or wanted to fetch data, right, from the SAP system, it was faster because the data was getting stored in a different place and the other things were happening in a different place. Right? Now it is about R3. And now it is about HANA. High analytics applications or whatever it is. Now, what is this HANA? Now, all these things, R1, R2, R3, were called as the ECC systems. What is ECC? Enterprise Central Component SAP, ECC SAP. Clear? Even now, some of the businesses are still happening on the ECC SAP systems only. Okay. And even here, on the ECC systems, I started as far as the versions of SAP is concerned. I said why SAP is carving out such a huge name in the market is the way SAP's constant R&D in whatever form. So now it is moving from the ECC to HANA. Tomorrow it could be something else. Clear? Now, what is this ECC? Earlier versions of SAP. Now, when I started SAP in mid 2000s, 2005 or something, it was 4.6B version. I graduated myself to 4.6C, 5.0, 6.0. Even before 5.0, it was, what was it? New general ledger. So these are the various ECC versions which I have seen. Now I have also seen the HANA system. Okay, I will not explain this much further. We will take this up after the lunch break. Okay. Now, so what I wanted to tell you is how constantly SAP is upgrading itself to meet the market requirements and the dynamic changes in the business scenarios. Maybe it could be in any way. Maybe it's the way the business itself is constructed or the business itself is conducted. Maybe it could be in the form of a new report, what the agencies are asking. Correct? So like this, each and every activity is being constantly looked at in SAP so that the product is updated and it is up to date. It is always in the race. Clear? So that is the reason as to why SAP is growing and growing and growing. Now, when we started way back in 2005 or even before that, there are people, I have colleagues of mine who have started SAP much earlier. What happened was the challenges were very different. Okay, now having become project managers or something, the challenges are very different. So they have seen a huge transformation as far as SAP system is concerned, and as far as the demands of the businesses are concerned. Right? So we have seen SAP progressing a lot. So, madam, shall we break for lunch?
Yes, sir. Sure, sir.
So we'll meet by sharp 2.
Yeah. So now we resume. Students, please note that there is another. So join that session. Thank you. Students, the next session at 2 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you all.